So just so you know, this is recorded. I don't know. If you're not comfortable with me distributing it, I won't. But if you are, then that's something we can possibly start, is putting this on the Facebook group page or on YouTube or something like that for people that maybe couldn't tune in. If you're like totally against it and you don't want your work out there, like, again, just let us know and we won't do it. Like, we want to respect you and your art 100% and not put you in an uncomfortable position. But it is recording, just so you know. So I'll shut up for now. I'll probably read a little bit more later. But Alyssa, come on up and start applauding. Thank you, thank you.
So this first one, hold on, let me get this. I'm gonna get attached to my earring. Okay. So this first one, basically, I was looking through some of my old Google documents, and for some reason, the best stuff I've ever written is from like 2 years ago when I was 19, and then I also combined it from like some journal entries that I do, and so I don't know if it makes any sense, but I made a poem out of it. And this one's called Warmth and World. I plan to be fully naked when the world ends, the only position where I gain and lose respect in a matter of breaths. My mind is like children who are pinching their thumbs and pulling at earlobes and shirt collars, who think birth and death are linear, who believe in the goodness of most people. At this point, it's expectant when you break me out of my silence. I don't see the warmth you see in me. So no, maybe it doesn't have to do with warmth or goodness. Maybe I, just like everything else, get cold with time. Maybe it's just the time it wastes. Or maybe I am the end of the world. But what if it's warm? What if it's quiet? What if only the children hear it? It was shorter, and then since Selena mentioned it, I might as well read a poem that I had published in Tempo. And this one's old. I wrote this 4 years ago when I was 17. And I think there's a lot of innocence to it because it's like the reason I was writing it before is so different from like the reason that I write now. And it's cute to me because I'm like, I was really cute. And this one's called If I Were a Scientist. If I were a scientist, I would articulate my body in a way to ensure natural selection will not let me die. I wouldn't need a second guess in order to get my head around a theory of emotions and body I do not understand, will never not understand. If I were a scientist, I'd have clothes that fit my frame. My chest wouldn't feel so tight, stuck between my ribs. Am I small enough to fit myself between his ribs and his heart, but not in the palm of his hand? I am a scientist. I am not generous. I feel myself phasing out into something, nothing, and more. If I were a scientist, I could construct a ship, navigate out, and find myself in this something, nothing of space. Write a theory, rewrite it, and worship something new. I want to feel important to you, and you, and you, and him, and you, and him, and me. If I were a drink, would be a lesser cousin to water, transparently tasteless with an unsettling aftertaste, just enough to make you miss me, but not enough to make you yearn for another drink or two. That's that one.
For those of you that don't know what Tempo is, it is undergraduate literary journal based off of Coastal Carolina University. It's completely run by undergraduate students. It is like 100% from cover to cover all undergraduate students. There's only 3 people that work in the magazine. I used to work with them last year, so we would collect pieces and writers and photographers and graphic designers that were all students at Coastal, and we all put this beautiful magazine together. Linda keeps some very visually, so they're out there, they're marketing, and finally, you want to let me know if you're reading, stay at home, look at some talented people and their work. And then also, I'll be bringing in newer issues from the spring. So if you want the spring issue as well, that will be out there. So yeah, thank you, Melissa. Good job. Next, we have Jill.
So last April and May, when I was self-quarantining and reading all these online newspaper articles about COVID and street protests, and not much poetry was coming. And I had the idea, well, I copied and pasted an article from different online newspapers, The Guardian, and I just randomly went through the article and highlighted words, and then just put them in a sequence that I highlighted them, and added a few little words or transitional myself. So here's a couple examples. I just call it poetry in the news. Not poetry in the nude, poetry in the news. First one's called Travesty. Faces continue reopening, crying before the tear gas. A new split in American life. At red metal tables, cooped up in the house, people want wiggle room. Half-masked, wary about the future. Everybody impatient, suffering. A feeling to close again. A new high swiftly condemned, despite fierce opposition. A stark warning, we want to go backward with furor. Signing a death warrant, offering no release. Lose everything while competitors thrive. Wineries for the past several weeks used to be rock solid. Now a number that has also failed to dip. Bowling alleys spread from urban to rural areas without safety nets. Science tells us decisions are tough. As it stands, tracking down clusters exposed a critical window. To understand the war, an individual can be a plateau and miss the mark. More deaths, more cases. Here's another one. It's called Just Disappear. Single day highs. The spike going in the wrong direction. Simply disappear. I do. Very soon, too, I hope. Masks are good. The buck stops, the courage to admit. Listen to the science, not defeat reality. Reality wins, and reality won. Bar owners launched a series of attacks. Pocahontas frenzy retweeted the lone fox. I did the same thing with song titles. There's this program that comes out of San Francisco on Sunday nights for years. It's music from the heart to space, and it's new age music, ambient music, and the song titles are really poetic. And I just looked at their playlist and wrote down the song titles, and then just added a few words myself. So here's one. It's called Many Rivers. These many rivers cradling the blood moon, perpetuating the illusion of a luminous emptiness. The moon and the sun secretly kissing at her time of month. Star moods and leaf dreams, the continuation of slow motion, the general fuzziness of the trees drag us deeper into the reflecting chambers of our hearts. Now's not the time to conceive, but to ponder the signs hinting at the impending death of the virgin spirit. And lastly, I just thought of some one-line cliches that people say, I find myself saying, and I just kind of added, these are short poems, a couple of them, and I just added a few lines to them, kind of riffing on them. First one, my loss is someone else's gain. Wish I knew who that is. Maybe we can share the pain when he loses it too. Second one, since the sky's the limit, maybe that's why people sing the blues. Third one, it is what it is. It isn't what it is. It is what it isn't. It isn't what it isn't. Last one. What she doesn't know won't hurt her. What she doesn't know hurts me. What I don't know hurts me. What I don't know hurts her. What I know hurts. What she knows hurts. I know she knows this.
So if you can't write, just go look at the playlist, and put some song titles together, and add your own words, and like people responded to that. That was so freaking cool. I love that. And it's kind of erasure in itself. Like the news articles are erasure, putting the songs together. It's just I'm gonna play around with it. So thank you, Joe, for letting us know. That's awesome. Homework round of applause. Up next, Dave.
Hey, hi, I'm kind of new here. This is my first time here. I recognize a few people, but mostly I don't. So I'm just going to introduce myself first. And I see some people on Zoom I know too. My name is Sage Short. I just transferred to CCU. I'm technically a junior, and I'm studying English. And yeah, I guess I'm going to read a poem now. I can read two if that's okay. But the first, okay, I'll just do two. That's okay. Thank you. But the first one is called Prayer, and it's a villanelle that I wrote in high school. Villanelles are really out of my comfort zone because I usually do free verse. What'd you say? They are very hard, but it's kind of fun because the constraints can be interesting. By no means is it perfected at all. It is not a final draft, but I revisit it sometimes and revise it. So without me talking too much, this is Prayer. No one was worried about my despair. The stranger held my nightmare's reflection. Quietly, I swallowed the bitter air. The voice in my head I refused to dare. The only witness made no connection. No one was worried about my despair. Do not look, ignore the scare. Skeletons reap nothing of perfection. Quietly, I swallowed the bitter air. My soul tore to pieces, empty and bare. The ghost held its own glossy complexion. No one was worried about my despair. No one could even show me the way there. Vowed to heaven, I'd seek no protection. Quietly, I swallowed the bitter air. I wondered what would happen with my prayer. I became subject to God's objection. No one was worried about my despair. Quietly, I swallowed the bitter air. Thank you. And then this next one I wrote for Dr. Richardson's class, creative writing. I love her class so much. She's a great teacher. And this isn't finished either, but it's the current draft of it. And it's called Hometown. And yeah. Feet tumble into sand, shells and their ghosts drape rusted gray jewelry over oaks, pour ashy sunsets like concrete over constellations, whisper emerald to midnight march. Ballerinas cannot point amidst tides, gulls cannot fly against wind, unbeknownst to the obstacle such freedom could give. Sunburnt skin stinging at slight sights of the wind, call it fire. Sprang salt in my face as a form of mockery. The redness of my eyes dared not look into hers. What would I say anyway? That I'd been drowning with a smile on my face? That no amount of heat wave cooled by ocean baptism in an effort to move on could soothe me? It sizzled and boiled like sharp teeth on pruny fingers, and tastes of melted pecan ice cream, sour strawberries, pennies, and vowing to never call a place swallowed by shipwreck my home. That's it.
All right, up next. Thank you, Dave. That was awesome. Thank you. I'm gonna picture the slide where you can come down. And if you're not cool, you will say, it's a figure. So, and I see your post. She posted on Instagram, but on my Instagram. She posted her poem on there. We love that. And Jess is up there. So shout out to Jess. Thank you for coming here. Jess, we love you. Melissa said she loved you too. Yeah, so cool. See, thank you. Next, we'll have Joel.
So, hold on. Just gonna get caught my earrings too. Okay. Oh yeah, I know. You would think I would think of my ear choice. Anyway, this one is a fiction piece I write. I don't normally write fiction. I don't write nonfiction, which is why this piece is highly, highly based on real life. The thing I like to do with my writing is if I meet someone who's kind of unusual and I don't understand them, I like to write a fiction piece trying to understand them. So that's kind of what this is. Just forewarning, this piece does include cheating. I don't condone cheating in any regards. If you cheat, you're a piece of shit. And it also has sexual themes in it, so if that bothers you, that is in this piece. Okay, so it's called The Itches We Scratch. The first time Laura tried having sex at work was unsuccessful. Troy had her bent over the back of a seat in the far reaches of the theater, both their trousers around their ankles because he'd said it would be easier this way. Troy wasn't her first choice, but he was her only choice on a slow shift like today. They'd already cleaned the theater and the credits still rolled, swamping them in darkness, occasionally illuminating their faces in a pale white light. Come on, Glass, you're too tight, Troy whined. Laura had only had sex a handful of times. Troy, on the other hand, had boasted of his skills, yet he kept having to pull away, stroke his penis to get it up more, then try to push it back inside her once again. Forget it, Laura pulled away, frustrated. She yanked her pants back up, brushing a strand of hair out of her face. Now she was horny and had another 4 more hours left in her shift. Troy stood momentarily, staring at her blankly, his pants still around his ankles. His penis had shrunk, hanging limp and soft. Put your pants back on, Troy. Now that the moment had passed, the reality had hit her all too hard. They were at work. He shouldn't be having his penis hang out. Right, Troy said, slowly pulling his pants back up. He grabbed both of the brooms in his hands before slinging them into the garbage can they wheeled around. Laura's shirt suddenly felt all too itchy. The hallway was too bright after being alone in that darkness with Troy. Of course, just as they happened to step outside, Gabe rounded the corner. Laura could feel Troy shift uneasily beside her. He wasn't as good of an actor and a liar as she was. Hey, stranger, Laura slung her arm around his shoulders. Gabe shifted, not because of their closeness, but because of where they were. He was always frightened someone would catch them, like their relationship was a secret, which it wasn't. He gave her a shy smile. Hi. She gently stroked one of his dark strands of hair. What time do you work until? 7. She pulled away and looked at him through her lashes. Pizza date afterwards? Gabe seemed to forget where he was, because he smiled like he did when he wasn't at work. Absolutely. Laura had expected to get somewhere with Gabe within the first 5 months of their relationship, even if it was a shitty hand job. They'd always wound up spending the afternoon at his house, mostly because Laura feared what would come if Gabe saw too much of her own house. Gabe's family was structured. His parents were married, he had 2 well-behaved dogs, and 2 even better-behaved younger siblings. There were Bible quotes on his walls and a Bible in every room. When Laura went over there, she was someone else. She was a sweet girlfriend, his mother would tell her. It was who she wanted to be. Laura had her head rested against Gabe's shoulder as his fingers rapidly clicked and twisted on his gaming controller. Normally they'd be playing multiplayer, but Laura had opted out for being too tired. In reality, what she was disappointed. Her and Maggie had had lunch that day for what felt like the first time since Maggie had gotten a boyfriend, after Laura had. They'd already hit all the bases, 1, 2, and 3, and even D. What's D, Laura had asked, somewhat to humor her friend, somewhat because she was curious. Oh, you'll find out, trust me. She was probably just bullshitting. Now she couldn't stop thinking about while Gabe worked his thumbs over the joystick when they could have been doing something else. She knew the making out they'd been doing couldn't even really qualify as that. It was almost like he'd get to a point where he had to step away from her, so he didn't trespass into sin. Laura turned her attention instead to where she imagined his penis to be, dormant for 18 years. Probably didn't even masturbate. God, he probably didn't even masturbate. Slowly she took her hand and slid it under his shirt where he was hot and hard. Almost immediately, Gabe reached to clasp her wrist as he let out a shrill giggle. Babe, that tickles. Sorry, she said sheepishly, but she wasn't. All she had to do was try again. It would feel good, she told herself. He had to like it. He just didn't know it yet. She tried a different approach. I'm sorry, that sounds super rapey. I'm sorry, she's an awful person. I really don't condemn this. I don't want you to think I think this way. She tried a different approach, starting near the waistband of his sweatpants first. It was almost a race against time, and she almost grabbed it, almost. But she barely stroked his pubes before Gabe had paused the game and leapt off the bed in one swoop. What are you doing? You'd have thought she'd poison his drink, not try to give him a simple hand job from the way he looked at her. God, Gabe, can't I at least just give you a handy? Laura had fallen forward on his bed and now looked up at him. Gabe darted a look behind him and then back at her. Don't say his name in vain like that. Another look towards the door and back. And my parents are downstairs. So, don't you masturbate while they're home? He swiped a hand in the air. I'm not having this conversation anymore. And like that, he sat back down beside her and went back to his video game. Laura shrank back away from him, feeling stupid and lost. I'm going home, she announced. Okay, Gabe didn't even look at her. Aren't you gonna walk me to my car? It's still light out, you'll be fine. The past Laura would have done something petty on her way out. Knocked over his lamp, scuffed his mirror, something that he had to take care of after she left. Instead, she just walked out and downstairs past his parents. She felt like a criminal, just for wanting to give her boyfriend a handjob. Nothing major, and she didn't let go until she got home. Leo took a drag from his cigarette before passing it to Laura, who held it incautiously to her dry and chapped lips before blowing a line of smoke out. Damn, Gloucester, if you need your itch scratched that bad, I'll do it for you, Leo said casually. Laura nearly choked on the smoke still logged in her lungs. What? She held a hand to her frail chest as she continued sputtering. Leo didn't seem to notice as he took the cigarette back from her. I'll have sex with you, he said, pitching his voice lower. The sun outside the theater doors was the reason her eyes were watering, Laura told herself. She noticed how all the others she worked with who were older than her had all taken up a smoking habit, and she desperately wanted to be a part of it. What about your girlfriend, she asked. Leo laughed. He was a big dude, so his chest let out a hollow beat when he slapped his hand against it. What about your boyfriend? Chill, Laura, she's in college, so she'd be like totally fine with it. She couldn't believe the words that came out of her mouth next. Are you sure? Like she was seriously considering it. Yes, but he lowered his voice once again. I'll check with her just to be sure. Leo crouched to the sidewalk and put out his butt before tossing it to the street. It was at times like these Laura could hear Gabe sneer in her head. He'd hate to witness this, to know she could be a witness to smoking and littering. Leo rose once again and jammed the heavy double doors open, removing the scrap of cardboard they wedged in between the two doors so they weren't locked out. He tossed the cardboard behind the trash can in the corner before slinging his arm around Laura's shoulders. He smelled like popcorn and sweat. While Laura's eyes blinked to refocus on the dimness of the theater hallway, Gabe stumbled from the nearest theater, wheeling garbage men after him. His smile was only for Laura. Hey, what were you two up to? Laura slipped from beneath Leo's heavy arm. Nothing, just taking out the trash. She reached to ruffle Gabe's hair, but he stopped her, holding her shoulders at arm's length. He scrunched his nose. You smell like smoke. Oh, Leo was just taking a quick smoke break, and I joined in. Gabe's eyes followed Leo's receding back down the hallway, off to do God knows what, but it certainly didn't involve doing his job, that was for sure. Gabe retrained his eyes back on Laura. You wouldn't do that too, would you? And because his eyes were the color of the sky outside and were so soft and utterly concerned for her health and well-being, she smiled and chirped, no, of course not, silly. And so it was with Leo it first happened. What might have felt awkward to more people felt normal to her. If she had any common sense, she would have thought he has a girlfriend, but she also might have thought I have a boyfriend. It happened continuously for the next year and a half of their relationship. Sex was never about love or feelings with Laura. It was simply an itch to scratch, something she had to do to maintain her relationship with Gabe. She couldn't think of anything else to do. If sex was the only issue between her and Gabe, she'd fix that elsewhere. But other than that, things were good. At least they were until he walked in on her and Shorty in the stairwell. A lousy mistake. She should have heard him entering the key code, but she'd gotten sloppy and lazy. She did, however, hear the door slide open, which caused her to see Gabe's frightened face with the lights of the theater frame behind him. Gabe didn't even watch sex scenes in movies. Whenever one happened to appear in a film they'd watched together, he was sure to fast forward through the scene, and if he couldn't, he'd sit in an uncomfortable silence, rubbing his hand down his face. Seeing your girlfriend having it with someone else surely wasn't any better, but it was definitely worse. Luckily, Laura had only had to shove Troy away from her and pull up her trousers. Gabe was already turning his back, but she chased him down, rebuckling her belt around her hips. Gabe, wait, she turned around by the shoulder, and his face made her stomach drop. He looked emotionless and broken, and it was her fault. More than anything, she felt she'd ruined something, someone pure. What? He said, his voice flat, like he'd thrown the word at her feet and not on her face. That's how it always was with Gabe, though. Laura brushed her hair back into its ponytail. I can explain. Finally, Laura saw some spark of anger glimmer in Gabe's eyes, which wouldn't meet hers. He shrugged his narrow shoulders. There's nothing to explain. I'm telling management. She didn't bother stopping him. She knew her manager would never get her in trouble. Was fairly sure most people knew what was going on in the first place. So when Gabe marched to Mayor's office with Laura in tow, he only laid a hand on Gabe's shoulder and said, why don't I send the both of you home early to cool this off? After collecting his stuff from his locker and slamming it closed, Gabe made a beeline for the parking lot, but Laura chased him down once again and convinced him to sit in her car so they could talk. Why didn't you just break up with me? Gabe said calmly, too calmly. Because I want to be with you, Gabe. You just didn't want to have sex, so I got it from someone else. How many? He won't look at her. 5 others, give or take. She lifted one shoulder in a half shrug. Gabe sighed long and heavy, brushing his hands against his thighs as he sat back in his seat. We have to break up. What? No, Gabe, we can stay together. I don't care that you don't want to have sex. I think what we have going now is fine. Finally, he looked at her, and it made her feel like the most scrutinized human being. Are you crazy? Maybe she was. Leo has a girlfriend, but we still do it. That's between Leo and his girlfriend, has nothing to do with us. Have you ever considered we're two different people, and this is about more than just sex? Laura could only shake her head. Gabe sighed, his hand already on the door. Goodbye, Laura. She couldn't even get a word in before he left. Gabe and Laura were hired roughly a month apart. Laura on the tail end of her senior year of high school in her last relationship, and Gabe needing extra cash his family's own business couldn't provide anymore. Laura fit in like the kernels that found themselves wedged between the soles of her sneakers. And so when Gabe started, he was the bait her and her coworkers decided to tackle. He looks like an innocent one, Gloucester. Maybe he could be your rebound. Leo nudged her a little too hard on her side, as was his tendency. Nah, he isn't my type, Laura said, going back to scooping popcorn in pre-made bags before the evening rush. And from then on, the topic wasn't brought up again. And yet, she couldn't stop turning the idea in her head. There was something unattainable about Gabe, and yet so appealing. How closed off he was his first week, his bony hands working their way over the register, refusing help from anyone else. How his dark eyebrows would dip when anyone cussed around him or mentioned anything vulgar. How he'd stride on his long legs to get the job done while everyone else joked around or went on smoke breaks outside. She hoped he'd notice how she'd slip away from the group to help him bag popcorn or pour drinks while everyone else just stood around. How she'd lean against the wall and wait for him for a theater to let out rather than sneaking off outside with everyone else. But she always seemed right at his elbow, ready to help. It was a month after getting hired when Gabe had approached her while at work. She noted he'd been acting weird lately, and he seemed even more nervous now. Hey, did you want to go mini golfing this weekend? Laura shoveled popcorn out of the popcorn. That's a typo, sorry, I haven't read this in a while. Laura shoveled popcorn out of her popcorn, what is it called? Popcorn machine, and into a bag. Isn't it supposed to rain this weekend? Oh yeah, I guess. Gabe began to walk away, but Laura called him back over. But it's supposed to be clear skies on Monday. So it's a date? Yeah, I guess it is. That's it. I worked with. It was before I worked there. They're both in happy relationships now. So.
I love that. I guess. That's so freaking funny. Okay, cool. Thank you. One more round of applause. Their second round of applause. So second round of applause. All right. How are you feeling? Let's take a little break, like 10 minutes. Use the restroom, grab some snacks, stretch. Cool. All right. So I didn't make this announcement earlier. If you've been like holding your bladder, I'm so sorry. Since this is like your first time here.
It's if you go out here, you go past the register, it's to the left. There's like a hallway, it's to the left, and you'll see it right there. If you have to use the restroom, that's where it's at. Let's take like 10 minutes. Let's come back. Well, it's already 8:49, so let's just come back at like 9 o'clock-ish. There's water, Cheez-Its, snacks. Go out there, grab some. They're free, and you can bring them back in here if you'd like and snack on it while we're reading. Connie, are you gonna read some? Yeah? Okay, cool. And if anyone else wants to read last minute, like let me know during this break and I'll add you up here. It'll be great. Good stuff. Okay, see you later. Oh, Sage, you got some supporters over here. You got some supporters. Brogan. Oh, hey. Oh, I don't know if he's still here. He's gone. Yeah. Oh, it's okay. It's supportive. It's fine. Hi, everyone. I hope you're doing well. We're taking like a 10-minute break to grab some snacks. So I encourage you all to stretch, go get maybe not coffee at this time of night, but like a snack or something. Go give your dog a hug. Good stuff. I hope you've been enjoying it so far. And I'll leave it unmuted so I don't forget to unmute again or whatever. It's fine. Sage. Gabby said you did incredible. Gabby Harden. She said thank you. If you have any feedback for any of the pieces, feel free to put them in the chat. I'll relay the message to them. You did so good. I I love that. I'm gonna have fun with
Just
that.
try. Yes.
I'm gonna have so much fun with that.
You ever heard of the Dada art movement, the ADA, around the 19th?
No.
Kind of a like theater of the absurd, and they came up with that. So people were doing that, and I remembered it. And I said,
That's so freaking cool.
hey, want to make a suggestion?
What's
What
that?
do you think? Next time,
Yeah.
encourage people to read slower,
Yeah, for
like
sure.
75% of the normal, because it's hard to, you're hearing the words, the line the first time.
Right.
You need and
Get
pauses,
time to.
emphasis pauses, you know, time to sink in.
Yeah.
If you just read right through it.
For sure.
Yeah, so
Definitely.
That
And
might be good for you.
I always forget that.
forget that. Yeah.
But yeah, if I ever forget in the future and you're here, like,
Okay.
chime in. You're
All
welcome
right.
to.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
will
It'd be
be
nice
glad.
like an introductory thing.
Yeah.
Do your introduction.
Yeah, for
We'll
sure.
see.
Sweet. Thank you.
Hi, I was just gonna sign up for
Oh,
if
yay!
that's cool.
Yeah, that's totally cool.
I just definitely don't want to go first.
No, I feel you. I feel you. I'll have Tani go first. You can sign.
Okay.
And then I'll probably just close out. You, Michaela?
Yeah,
Okay, you texted me.
I did. Yeah, and my friend Kaylee was gonna come, and then she texted me yesterday, and she was like, "Dude, I tested you."
Oh no!
Yeah, she texted me. She was like, "Dude, I've been feeling kind of crappy. Like, I'm having like a fever and like cough and symptoms." She was like, "I'm not freaking out yet, but I just don't think I should go tomorrow." And then she texted me later, like, "Dude, keep me updated. Let me know what's going on." She was like, and she was
I'm
like,
I'm sorry for her. I'm glad she didn't come, but I'm so sorry. That's awful.
"Yeah, it's really bad." And she can't really help it because her parents are like older and like can't work because they have like they have underlying health conditions too.
Right.
And she's like she can't not work. So she's like,
Tell
"Dude."
her we're feeling for her.
I know. I was like, she's like, "I feel so guilty," and I was like, "You had to work. You wore your mask. You washed your hands.
Right.
You've done what you can." Exactly.
Right.
So I just feel so bad because I texted her, like, I sent her a screenshot, and I was like, "Yo, can we like sign up and stuff?" And she was like, "Dude, yeah, I'm so excited," because
Oh my
we came
God.
together for the first time a few months ago while my boyfriend was in the army. So I was excited to go again, and she was like, "Dude, I'll go with you. Like, I'll hype you up." And then she was like, "No, I have COVID." So yeah.
It's okay. Well, next time.
Yeah,
Hopefully
it makes
we'll
me
get
sad.
another one going. Maybe sometime in November.
Yeah.
We usually try to do one like every month, so I kind of gotta get with Linda and see what she's feeling. But
Yeah.
heck yeah, thanks for coming. I'm excited to hear you read.
Always feeling energy.
Oh, shut up. It's gonna be
Nothing
great. It's gonna be great. Hi, my loves. I'm adding your name on here as well.
I was
No,
trying.
I'll have you because she's at me. So when we come back, you can open up. And then I'll have her read, and then if no one else wants to read, I'll probably go ahead and close out. So take as long as you want. You got it. You're gonna kill it. It's great.
I was
So-
trying to find something that I could read in my notes. I will. Since there were so few, but now there's more and I couldn't anyway, so it's okay.
You can read if you want.
Oh, I just said I couldn't find anything I wanted to read.
I guess the first like 2 pages.
Heck yeah. Do it. That's totally fine. Like, we have time. We're usually here until like 10, and at this point we'll probably be here till like 9:30. So because we just don't have so many people. So look, guys, she said read. That's so funny.
You can read like somebody like a famous piece and just put passion in it.
I love that. That's so true, right? Just like it's fine. You can read the alphabet as long as you read it perfectly. It's great.
That means that one's okay. Let me see. I trust your judgment, so.
It's so cool.
I know. We love Jess. I'm sad she's gone.
Yeah, we stand Jess. And we had Kate A strike up here too. She's not here anymore, but she might be coming back in a few minutes. Because she said she's looking forward to the second half. Cool.
Oh, my eyes all over my screen.
It's all good. All right.
If you tell this, you gotta give the backstory.
It's about my mom.
That makes it even better. Yeah, you should introduce it as that.
When is this from?
I wrote it that night when you and Gabby were there, remember? That's like the only thing I have that is like even long or appropriate enough to read.
Okay, so you're reading too. So beautiful sky. Heck yeah.
Oh, you guys know. I'm so serious. I read it every day.
I need money. I need grants. Right? I know. Let me graduate first.
You know, this week, we are in the they got like small little coffee shops.
Spot. Take it over.
That's my spot. Yeah,
Take
I'm
it
over there as I read.
Really?
I
No way. No way.
It's only like $2. That's so. I'm praying.
I can't be next too. Oh my god. I love that for you. That is so exciting. Oh my god. It's gonna work out. It's gonna work out. Yup. Heck yeah. I love that.
Y'all gotta
Sending all the good I know. It looks so fun. It's literally we joke about it all the time. Like I've always, since I was a kid, I've wanted to open a coffee shop.
It's so big, especially today. Anything is possible.
That is true. That is true. We'll see what happens. Alyssa's dream tripped me out though.
Yeah, I saw that on the video. That fit me.
Aww, that's so cute. I love that.
Even walking in here, I feel like I was really like this.
I know, this makes me happy. I definitely want to do something. I guess they have what I made for it. We'll see what's up. Celestial.
Sky and Cell. Selling Sky.
Selling Sky.
I like
That
Selling
do
Sky.
kind of sound nice though.
And if you feel it, like,
Yeah.
like it's okay.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be so cool. I'm so
I want my two.
I know. We get a free coffee every week and a discount.
A free coffee every week and a discount for being the number one.
Big 50.
And I'll let it because she was the one who jumped it.
I love it. That's, yeah. I love that. Okay, I'm gonna go.
The biggest promise to make is class we have. Love at first sight. One of the main books. It's been a while. That was the book. There's on YouTube, yeah, they have a website. It's on their spiritual center. They're opening up for day business. It's over. You go for day business.
All right. She said I do remember things. Skylar is reading, just so you know, guys. Just don't shake your head. You already said yes. All right. All right, we're getting settled. Good, sweet. Hope you got some snacks. I don't know if you had that friendship bread out there, but It's so good. It's so good. Like, it literally tastes like fall in your mouth. Like, autumn is here. And if you don't feel it, go eat that and you will absolutely be in like the orange and greens and yellows mood. Like I promise, it's just great. Pumpkin spice latte, who? It's friendship bread all season long. That's it. Okay, yeah, sweet. So thanks for taking a break. We had a little bathroom incident where it was like the women's restroom, the light went out. So just so you know, there's a lamp in there. If you do have to step out and go, there is now lighting in there. I'm so sorry if you had to use it in the dark. It went out while I was washing my hands. Things happen, you make adjustments. Life is beautiful, it's great. So I'll shut up and I will call my friend Connie up. Give her a round of applause. And I'm gonna brag on her a little bit. No, come on up. Connie's super cool. She's from my hometown, small town Loris, 30 minutes, 40 minutes away from here, kinda. But we go way back, and she's just awesome. And she has a business if you want to support it. She does like self-care packages, super cool. You actually might want to talk to Linda because Linda has some really cool stuff, like local artists and things like that out there. So yeah, look her up and try to support her business. I got a self-care package and it was like so cool. Like it had like biscuits and like journals and pens and affirmation board and essential oils. It was so freaking cool. Awesome. And it's only like $25, I think. So super affordable. Self-care is important. Loving yourself is important. And Connie is always here to remind you of that. We love her for it. So I'll shut up. She's gonna read some pieces and tell you all about it. And I expect you all to support her. We're gonna applaud a little bit more until I'm off of this stage.
I'll be reading pieces from my book. It's called Cemented Flower. It's called Cemented Flower. Hopefully it'll be out by the end of the month or beginning of November, depending how editing goes. We'll see. So I'm gonna just jump right in. So you want to see the book cover? Oh. This is my book cover. Yeah, it's called Cemented Flower. And the background is like cement. Okay, I'm gonna just read the first few pages. Okay. Cheers to the woman I wanted to be. I was her all along. Fertilized in sorrow, emerges a beautiful sunflower. Weathered by storms, yet again she grows taller. Unbreakable, unshakable by nature's wrath, she grew from the concrete, so she looks at adversity and laughs. Because she is rooted, and nothing can knock her off her path. The wind bends her petals. Rain begins to soak the meadows, yet she grows. Autumn ends, winter is near. The snow sticks, she cannot grow here. As I write my pain on paper, it stings like a paper cut. Drenched in alcohol with a cotton ball, the paper absorbs my pain, making it a little easier to relive these memories again. Simultaneously, I am healing, but I'm in so much pain. But I have to show you, I am human too, capable of healing, so you may heal too, despite what life has put you through. Okay. She prayed for change, and then a tornado came. Who knew before destiny comes destruction? Okay. Now it gets into, basically my book is about surviving like traumatic experiences and like encountering people who have like narcissistic tendencies. And I'm sure there's empaths here. Anybody empath? So when you're an empath, you attract these narcissistic people. So in my book, I talk about encountering those people and how to like embrace your power and like conquer them and become your ultimate self. Okay. So narcissistic in your nature, I thought I could love you through it, but you got it bad. Your ego was the size of an island, and I flew to it. And there I was, left stranded and discarded by your cold spells. So I built a boat to take me back home. And then you text me, where to next? Swindle me clueless, the epitome of deception. Who am I to love less, less than I deserve? I deserve perfection. Put a halt on your insecurities. It's not just you I'm rejecting. It's your harmful obsessions that keep me from progressing. You'll scream lies from Mount Everest to keep me. You're the cleverest. You hate me. You must do to keep me stuck here in time with you. Okay, this one is called Waterfall. Oh, this is the one. Okay. Selena, I sent her my poetry and it was in the campus Tempo magazine. Okay, this one is called Waterfall. The tears pour angelically and aesthetically like rain. Then these tears turn into sobs that echo into the brain. But don't be discouraged. Heartaches are only growing pains. Is it not questionable for heartbreaks to be so silent? As the heart breaks, you would expect a sound so deadly, but it's so silent. For the universe could not even construct a sound so violent. Rains from the heavens could never suffice or amount to the tears I cry, I pray. Pain, pain, go away. Come again another day. Okay, this next one is called Heart versus Brain. The truth in the end always seems so cold. Cognitive dissonance darts rapidly onto the frontal lobe. The heart whispers lies of love to the brain. These lies seem to be sane, but it's all of the heart's. It's all a part of the heart's deceptive game. Two queens on opposing teams, my brain and that thing that beats in my chest play chess the best. Checkmate, the heart always wins. Okay, now we step into like self-empowerment. Okay, so this one is called Know Yourself. Okay, beautiful girl, do you know who you are? Daughter of the creator of the star. Your worth cannot be fancied with fancy bags, fancy cars. Material things simply cannot afford who you are. Only light and love can fill you, daughter of the creator of the star. Know yourself, know who you are. They will want you, but let them stargaze from afar. For your value is unconceivable, only once you start to believe in you. Okay, so this next one is called Daisy. I want to see if y'all can get the reference when I say it. Okay, called Daisy. Okay, it takes a brave soul to open up their wildered wounds to the world. Feel my words and know I'd give anything just to be a foolish little girl. Do y'all get it? Okay, you foolish little girl. I wasn't sure if y'all was gonna get that one. Okay, I'm gonna do a few more. Okay. I was an open book. You were a private collection, but yet I had more mystery. You were just full of secrets. Okay, and this last one, I'm gonna read one more after this. It goes back to the NPD disorder, narcissistic, addressing that. Called Going Out Sad. I can't teach you empathy. I can't teach you love. You said you felt nothing when we hugged, but your heart beat profusely. Perplexed by your honesty, I knew then you were a narcissist, but so badly you wanted to care, so I told myself you did. Okay, I'll do one more. One of the biggest reasons I wanted this to work is because you reminded me of home. But my home was broken just like you. And when I made it, I wanted something around me that was not new, that was familiar. But I needed to leave home just to see how broken it all was.
Next is becoming, if you are interested in getting that book, like, look up with her after and follow her on Instagram because she posts about it, all that good stuff. And if you're interested in getting a self-care package, also talk to her because she is awesome. awesome, and she will locally deliver. Yeah, can you do that? Okay, so she'll locally deliver, mask and all, be great, super good. Take care of yourself. It's only $25. Like, and it lasts you. I got it months ago, and I'm still like going through it and having fun. So it's super fun. Thank you, Connie. One more round of applause. Next we have Kayla. You got this.
I'm Michaela. It's funny because all you guys are like super like artsy and you're good at writing and stuff, and I was actually a bio major, so I'm not into, well, like, not that I'm not into it, but I'm just like, I'm not like very talented, and like I don't write because I think I'm good. I just write to like, I'm a very emotional person, so when I have like a lot of emotions, I get it out that way. Yeah, I'm a Cancer, so yeah. Yeah, no, I'm terrible. Like, and these, I don't even call them like pieces or whatever. Like, I just like write them in my phone when I'm feeling sad or whatever. And if they're in here, then I'm like, okay, these are kind of good and they're somewhat edited. And I'm like, okay, maybe I'll share them. And my boyfriend's actually the only one that's ever gotten to read any of this stuff. So he's like, you should go and like sign up to read. So yeah, he's really supportive. He's awesome. So it's actually, there's like kind of a story behind this first one, I guess. Not really like a story to it. But it's really nice because the first person that ever like showed interest in my reading was actually a really good friend of mine, and we're not friends anymore because he's a narcissist and I didn't think that. And he actually like read this and he was like, dude, this is really good. And for my birthday, he printed it out and framed it, and he was like, put this above your desk so you see it every day and like feel inspired by yourself. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. So yeah, it just kind of sucks that he turned out to be a piece of shit and we're not friends anymore. But yeah, this one, it's called Gauze. I wrote this actually this time last year, a little bit earlier, but it's called Gauze. You hurt me today. You don't get to choose that you didn't, or how deeply you cut, or how my stitches heal. You don't get to choose to hurt me, to betray me, to wound me after I surrender to you. You don't get to choose my path of recovery, or how I choose to medicate, or who I choose as my caretaker. You do get to choose to be the one to help heal the lacerations, or how strong I'm built back up to be with your tender touch, or how tough a resistance my fleshy scars build. You do get to choose to wipe away the sweat of exhaustion from my forehead, or dab the tears of frustration away, or cleanse the fine horizontal lines carved across my body. You do not get to say you didn't hurt me, but you do get to say you can help me. So that's that one. And then this is the only other one I'll read because it's like the only other one I think is like good enough to share. But it's called Sand. I wrote this one after like a really shitty breakup. Yeah, it's called Sand. Sand between my toes, brushed all over my arms. Hair tangled by angry tendrils of salty wind, skin rubbed soft by the abrasive sand, and eyes bright with the reflection of the moon. Isn't it strange how the coast leaves behind what you used to? Skin soft, hair wild, eyes alive at the moment. Isn't it strange how sand finds its way into every track of your life? Hard to remove from plush rugs and denim pockets. I find myself trying to loosen tightly woven memories of you and empty the pockets of my heart. Maybe one day I'll be able to shake the sand away.
I really hear you. I never want to hear you ever say again that you're not talented, because you are. And I think everyone here is nodding in agreement, so that's great. You guys love yourself, love your work, you're great, it's awesome. Thank you for sharing. One more round. And now I'm going to put my beautiful girlfriend on the spot. She kind of volunteered, so.
Hi, I'm Skylar, and I am also a sciencey math person. I don't write very often, so you're not alone in that. Also very emotional because water sign Pisces, not Cancer though, so have that in common as well. I actually haven't really written anything since almost high school, right out of high school, so like 3 or 4 years ago. I recently wrote something though, so I only have the one piece to share tonight, and it was very last minute. So a little backstory on it I was 14 when I lost my mom. And it was very sudden. It was a motorcycle accident. She had one previously in 2007, and it had left her with a little bit of brain injury. So then when she got in the one in 2012, it was just kind of instant and everything. And I haven't really been able to write much since then, especially. But I don't know what it was when I was with Selena and our friend Gabby, and it just kind of came out into my poems, and here it goes. I don't want to be sad. I don't want to be broken. I don't want to be high even. I just want to be who I was before, but it seems impossible without you here. It's almost like I was the only who I was because of you, and that makes me so mad, envious. I miss her, the old me. She had worries and she had pain, but she still managed to be happy and find the better things in life throughout every day. And here lately, I haven't been able to do that. I try so hard because it's the only thing I want. I want to be able to feel that, to think that, to be that again. If I don't have that, then I can't have anything good. I have to find her again, and I'm so scared because it's been over 8 years now. What if I can't find her? And what if she's gone for good? How can I ever be any less than that, knowing that I was once more? I can't. Even if it takes another 8 years, 10 years, or just one, maybe nearly half, I have to get there. There's no other option anymore. Thank you.
Okay, so does anyone else want to share anything at all, any last minute, like, hey, I have a piece, I'm gonna share nothing? Give it like 5, 10 seconds. Sort of here and there. No. Okay. Okay. I'll do that for you.
All right. Well, I guess I would come up and read a couple pieces to kind of close us out. You don't have to applaud me. Thank you, though. Here you go. Sweet. Yeah, so I realized I did not introduce myself earlier. So if you're new here on Zoom, or if you're new here and you don't know me, because I know so many of you, my name is Selena Mendoza. I work with Linda very closely to organize this. So yeah, I don't know, it's been super fun. It's been a little over a year now, I think, and our community keeps growing every event, and every event is like different but great and just as magical as the last one. So I'm really glad you guys could come out. I'm really glad that so many of my classmates are here. So we have a lot of MAW reps, here, and we have a lot of CCU kids here. So we love that. Coastal is like a big portion of our community, I think, as far as Tungsten Common is concerned, but we also love and appreciate anyone else of all ages. It's so cool to look out and see, like a 19-year-old and then like a 60-year-old and them have such cool things to share with everyone. So yeah, I guess that's it. I don't really want to talk about myself. So I'll be quiet as far as talking about myself, but I'll be a little bit louder, I guess, with my pieces. I think I have 3 pieces here to read. I really worked with Jess Richardson. I know a few of you are familiar with her, but she is a creative writing professor at Coastal. She's been mentioned quite a few times tonight, which is a testament to how awesome she is inside and out of the classroom. She's been a huge supporter of Tungsten Common. We have students from her class here on Zoom, and she's awesome. And so because of that, I decided to do an independent study with her my last semester of undergrad. And it was really focusing on, it was in conjunction with an activism project that I was doing for my Women's and Gender Studies capstone. And so the focus of that was Latinx immigrants and the situations that they have to face and the hardships that they have to deal with and this misconception of who they are and what they do and why they're here and just everything. It's just they're so targeted, and they have been for quite a while. And it really hits close to home for me because my dad is a Mexican immigrant. He did come here illegally at first, and he had his reasons. And if you go to his hometown, you will not blame him for it, I promise. And so when you go out and you hear people say all of these demeaning things, it hurts. That's my dad. That's my family. And even if it wasn't, that's not okay. That's a human being. And most of the time, if they're coming here, they're genuinely seeking a better life. They're not here to start trouble. They're not here to be rapists and drug dealers and everything else that they've been painted as in the media. And my dad's very fortunate in the sense that he is no longer undocumented. He is a US citizen. But the truth is if he was in Mexico and he tried to do it the proper way, he probably would still be in Mexico. And that's what people don't want to talk about. And he would probably still be dealing with everything on the ranch, and he would not have the job that he has. The people, like our family on the ranch, wouldn't have as much progression as they've had as far as like, you're talking like there's no indoor plumbing. Like they're so far behind from us. And so I really wanted to focus on that, and I kind of joined up with Jess to create a poetry collection trying to capture that, trying to capture these struggles, these paintings of an entire community that literally just want to do better for themselves. And this is my first time reading it in person. We did a little open mic night thing. It was like a reading that I did virtually at the end of the semester for my project. But this is my first time doing it in person, so we shall see how it goes. I just kind of wanted to give you a little bit of a backstory of where these poems came from. I spent an entire semester, I think I wrote like 20 poems, and it was just like the most exhausting but rewarding thing ever. So yeah, I'll shut up. This one is called Phone Call of Silence. And by the way, Poppy is my dad, because I was not allowed to call him anything else. It's Poppy. It's not Dad, it's Poppy, and that's it. I heard Poppy on the phone with Mexico. It was hard not to. His voice thundering through thin walls, as the volume lessened the distance it had to travel. The smile could be heard in his speech. He's a silent man otherwise. Stuck in my own void, I suffocated the smoke that gave signal to my presence, my listening ear keeping them company in silence. Countless hours stifling screams for courage, for sweaty palms capable of reaching for a voice that doesn't waver, for intimate conversations with family I've never formally met. My earlobe brushed against the bedroom wall, the only physical touch connected to my grandparents. I always fear hearing a phone call that takes Poppy's voice away. My stifled screams turned stifled sobs, buds of anger blooming into my soul, the fall of frivolous fears that blocked my voice box for years. Why did I allow time to pass, none taken to send well wishes, expressions of love lost in the teary eyes I imagined Poppy would have? His face darkened from losing a parent, haunting thoughts. What more could we have done? The walls still rumble with Poppy's laughter, his Spanish spreading waves of comfort. They're okay. My mind softly whispers, no need to worry, there's still time, they're okay. But deceit is offered in such hopes. The clock of temporality is ticking, my family an hour behind, unheard stories lasting a lifetime. Spanish symphonies could fill my ears if only I learned to say hi. This border has chipped away at my heart, one set since birth, my bloodline reliant on a phone line. When will my call overcome my wall, built from distance and shame? Will I pick up the phone before it's too late? Thank you. And that really stems from, it's pretty much just my dad here. The rest of my family is in Mexico. I've only been to Mexico once. For the first time in my life, I was 17 years old when I met my grandparents, ever. First conversation I can remember is at 17 years old. If I had a conversation, I was so young, I don't remember it. And anytime my dad was on the phone with them, I would run away because Spanish was my first language, and then I had to go to school and I had to learn English, and I was like made to feel like I couldn't speak Spanish at school. And so then I developed this weird shame and I stopped speaking Spanish, and I still don't speak Spanish all the time. So, but I can understand it. I can have a conversation if I want to, but the nerves get in the way every time. I get scared that I'm gonna sound white or whatever. That I'm gonna mess up a word. And you know, it's hard. And yeah, and I think it's like a very common thing within the Hispanic community, which is kind of why I wanted to write a poem about it. There's so many Hispanic or Latinx people out there that don't know Spanish at all, because we live in a society where there's such a high value on English, and if you are foreign or if you have an accent, you're a target. And a lot of parents bring their kids here and they're like, you're learning English and that's all you're learning, because we're not gonna have you deal with what we had to deal with. And it's really sad. But yeah, you know, 17 years, it took 17 years for me to talk to my grandparents, and it was just, it's crazy, and you don't hear that very often. And there's not many people out there that you run into on a daily basis that have grandparents in a completely different country, across the border, in a country that everyone likes to like talk crap about. So yeah, that's where that piece came from. I hope you enjoyed it. This next piece is called Papi's Tierra, which is Dad's land in Spanish. And this kind of leads into this, so cool. I've only been once. Rocky paths, concrete walls, fields of cactus growing into the sky, mountain peaks blending the line between brown and blue. The shower made of PVC pipe drips into the handmade drain, concrete sculpted to catch remnants of the day's work, grinding corn for tortillas, moving the livestock, laundry cleaned with powder and a tray made of stone. The warmest shower out of a bucket, water warmed over a fire. We wash our hands, a barrel of water, mix in detergent crumbs to get the job done. Life is simple here, by necessity. No indoor plumbing, no insulation, no washing machine, no luxuries, only the essentials: food, water, family, gratitude. I learned to make peace with the daddy long legs, dusty cobwebs lingering on the walls of my room. They were here first. Before me, they went unnoticed. The cracks in the doorway, the windows, their entrance to home. Stepping out on brick and mortar, I learned to breathe in the view of dew-dipped practice fields, the sound of kids playing, Mama Cleme grinding corn, masa, breakfast brought by her hands. It took 17 years to learn where my father's from. Our arrival on the ranch late in the night. I'll never forget my grandma's eyes, twinkling with tears as I walked, her open arms, a refuge I never knew. I can still feel her fingers gripping my face, pulling me back to take me in, white freckled skin and all. Thank you. And all those images are real. Like, it's really like that. That's what my grandparents' home is like. That's what most homes in Mexico are like. And that is only as progressed as it is because of the work that my dad has been able to go over there and do, and the money that my dad's been able to send over to them. A lot of people don't even have that. So a lot of the luxuries that my grandparents have and my cousins in Mexico have is because they have someone here that has the ability to make a better life for themselves. And actually, we had them come visit for a while. My aunt and my grandma, they went home in December, but they were there for like 3 months, and it was just so, they were so shocked. Like, it's so different to be in a house where all the rooms are connected and you don't have to walk outside to go to the kitchen and then back outside to go to the bathroom and then back outside to go to the bedroom. Like, that's not a thing. You don't have to worry about snakes crawling in and spiders on the walls. Like, it's just not a thing. So if you aren't aware of the living situations in other places, now you kind of are a little bit, because it's all true stuff. And this last one, to kind of close out, this is kind of similar to what Joe did with the news articles. I was kind of hitting a rock. Like when you're hitting the same topic over and over again and you're trying to find a different like aspect to hit it from, it's hard. It gets like, holy shit, what do I do? Like, what's next? What else can I tie into this? I can only write so many poems. How am I writing poems about the same topic without repeating myself the same thing in every poem? It's hard. And so this particular day, I could not come up with anything. And so I looked up the border wall on Google Maps and like Google Earth or whatever. And you can like go and situate yourself where it's like as if you're looking at it right there in front of you, you know, like you can drag the little orange person and drop it. And so I did that, and it was like in Tijuana area, but it's like the California border basically. And there's a portion of the wall, it's the first portion of the wall, the border wall that has ever been built, way before Trump. There was a bit of a wall there. And it was like 14 miles. Yeah, 14 miles. And they called it the tortilla wall. That's literally what they like referred to it as, was the tortilla wall, a border wall called the tortilla wall because it was on the Mexican border. And I guess that's just like what you associate with Mexicans is tortillas, whatever. So I was like, what the heck? I've literally never heard of that. Like, have any of you heard of the tortilla wall? No, it's weird, right? Like, what? The tortilla wall? What is that? And I just was like, what the hell is that? Like, why are you gonna call it a tortilla wall? Like, it's a border wall. Call it what it is, not this like nice little food that's really yummy and like with all our meals. Like, that's not cool. That's not cute. It's not quirky or funny or like doesn't make it easier to go down that you're like shutting people out. It's just not how it works. So yeah, I kind of wrote a piece inspired by it, and we'll see. I don't know. So if you're ever kind of stuck, just go to Google Maps and you'll come up with something. It's cool. All right, the tortilla wall, describing a 14-mile wall built in San Diego reaching the Pacific Ocean. Italicized lines are paintings from the wall, so you can't really tell the italicized lines, but I'll kind of like do some quotes or something. I have never heard this phrase before. They thought naming it after our food would make it go down our throats easier. Rejection. We're not welcome here. Maybe it's the burn. Maybe they thought it fit, flipping fresh tortillas, calloused fingers, gotta go through some pain to taste the good stuff, right? They get that. It's not that easy, they say. They have to do it right, legal. Might not be easy, but it's right. They don't feel the dried fingertips, extra hours in the heat, emptied wallets, delayed dreams, strung together words designed to confuse, endless paperwork through the night. They don't want it to be easy. They don't care what's right. Muro de lágrimas, wall of tears, a wall built from misplaced fears. Empathy reads the side of the heavy burden, not the one loaded down and guarded, a green-lettered white truck, border patrol, white men waiting with hardened faces, sunglass-covered eyes, paid to send innocent hands in search of light. His presence, his watch, a direct message, you don't stand a chance, not without papers in hand. Their reminder, this is not your land. From one angle, an American flag painted upside down, crosses in place of white stars, coping with our battle scars, the loss of those hopeful, a new life to be found. From another angle, names of those lost crossing the border. How can they cry for help? Their mouths blocked by concrete pillars, a graffiti march barricade force-fed to the wrong side, to the fingertips that left those colors of hope behind. If only their paintbrushes could contact darkened eyes, pierce their privileged pupils, absent of compassion for our lives, our mural of muffled cries, unplanned goodbyes. Consider those names our martyrs, a long list of a reason to fight. Thank you. Yeah, and all those images and stuff, like it is a mural on each side of on the American side, it's just, you know, typical concrete, nothing pretty about it. It's very clear and intentional with what this is supposed to be. Like, this is not a pretty little thing. And then funny enough, on the Mexican side, it's just painted all over and it's gorgeous. And people literally come up to this wall If they're separated by the border, there's family members in California, they'll come up and they'll speak to one another through the cracks. But they can't hug, they can't touch, they can't do anything. They're separated by this border. And there's always, it literally runs into the ocean. Like I could swim out far enough into the ocean and be in Mexico, but there's someone there watching me and telling me I can't. And it's just, these borders are weird, right? They're invisible lines and we're trying to make them super visible and they're still not gonna do their job. So I don't know, but I know a lot of people can look at this and think it's a political thing. It's not a political thing. If you want to make it a political thing, make it a political thing, but it's not a political thing. This is a human rights thing. This is a humanity thing. These are people. And even if they're not American, they're people, and that's just how it goes. And I don't know, like, you shouldn't take someone that you love, someone that you know, for you to care about these kinds of things. So I don't know, I hope my piece maybe touched you in some way. And I think that's all I brought to read, so I kind of will close it off, but I really want to thank you all so much for coming tonight. I know things are weird, and I appreciate all of you like keeping your masks on anyway by choice. Like that's awesome. Thank you. Super cool. If you want to put your email up here, if you want to be like on the mailing list, come up here afterwards and write your name down, write your email down, and I'll make sure to email you about any future events. We're gonna plan another one, I'm sure. We're always planning another one, so keep a lookout for that. If you know me, you know I'll probably reach out to you. But the list is growing longer and longer, so I'm kind of starting to forget some people and miss some people. So follow our social media. It's Tongues in Common on Instagram, facebook.com/group/Tongues in Common. Just send a request, I will accept it. And every time we do events on Facebook, we really just try to be as visible as possible. So also, huge thank you to Linda and Yoga in Common. Let's give them a round of applause. She always tells me not to do that, but like I have to, because I mean, how nice is it for her to offer this space for us? They provided all the snacks tonight. So like I said, this is a free event. We do have a box out there. If you have a couple dollars, if you want to shove it in there, we'll, greatly appreciate it. We make it free because we want people to come, but we still pay for the snacks, and we still are taking up the space, and it's super nice, super appreciated, but it's not expected either, because what's important is creating a community and just being there. So thank you all for coming. I hope you enjoyed it. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. We've missed it. We've missed it so much. So, and people have been asking me about it. So yeah, just keep an eye out for it. We will be coming back. We will be meeting again. If you can't come in person, there's always Zoom. There will be a sign-up list. So for those of you that contacted me or signed up, thank you. We're probably gonna keep doing that for a while until this COVID stuff kind of clears up. But stay safe, be safe, love each other, love yourselves. What was that?
Keep writing.
Oh yeah, keep writing. Definitely keep writing. Keep writing and keep telling yourself that you're talented, and keep telling yourself that your work means something, because all it has to do is help you in some way. And if it helps others, that's great too, but it has to help you. And that's what writing is about. It's not about how pretty it is or that stuff is nice, but I want a piece that makes me feel. I want a piece that helps me. And so, if it's about your experience, you never know what experience you share with others. I think we all felt stuff while people were reading tonight, and I think that's where the magic is. So keep writing, keep being kind to yourselves, follow us, shout us out, stay tuned for the next one, and I don't know, that's it. Thanks guys. Make sure, if you don't mind helping us put this stuff up, greatly appreciate it. And that's it. Have a good night.